Rise up!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Hello, Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from CardsWire.com, USA Today's NFL Wire site that covers the Arizona Cardinals. With me in episode 757 and our first of two free agency preview shows is my co-host from RevengeOfTheBirds.com, SB Nation's Arizona Cardinals site. It is Seth Cox, and we get to talk about the offensive side of the ball. Early in the week, we talked about Kyler Murray's coming release, and now we're going to look at free agency. What are we going to do? What are the Cardinals going to do? What can they do? Who are some names that we want to pay attention to at the different positions on offense? Seth, I think we want to kick things off with the quarterbacks because, you know, Kyler's gone, and the big name that seems to be is Malik Willis, and everyone's been talking about a $30 million price tag per year. I found it interesting that over the weekend that Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano, one of the things that they noted is that doesn't seem to be really the feeling that is probably going to be closer to 20 to 25 a year, which in quarterback money isn't much. And personally, if Willis is the option that we're going, I think it's going to be the most exciting one. If they can get him for 2 years for $50 million, and that is front loaded, but you can get out in year two, why the heck not? I'm at that point. I'm like, why the heck not? Because as we talked at the end of the last episode, it's really their best chance for being exciting in 2026.
Yeah, it really is, and that's the hard part, right? Like you look at it, you see the names, right? The free agent specific names. So no trades, no draft, just free agent specific names. And you go through it, man. And you know, Trey Lance, he's been with what now, 3 or 4 quarterback gurus and failed. Zach Wilson.
He looks good in the preseason. He's a good preseason quarterback.
Right. Zach Wilson, you know, that's another reclamation project, but again, he was even in with Mike McDaniel and didn't have any success. We voiced our concerns, opinions on the Jimmy Garoppolo situation, the 35-year-old, 12-year.
Honestly, I think he's a lock for this team. I think he's 100% a lock. He had 4 years with Mike LaFleur in San Francisco. He had the last 2 with them last year. Unless he just wants to sit back in sunny California with the Rams, but I bet that might be one of their first day moves, kind of like the Drew Stanton signing.
I was going to say the Drew Stanton for Bruce Arians, yeah.
Because Garoppolo gives them someone who knows his offense. He's a veteran. He can start. Well, and I think he's a perfect fit.
And I think he's the perfect backup plan. Like literally, yes. Like the backup plan. Like, okay, we're going to go in on Malik Willis, but we're going to have, you know,
and if not this, then I guess it's going to be Jimmy, and we're going to draft a guy.
Right. You know, Kenny Pickett kind of failed everywhere he's been. Mitch Trubisky,
Russell Wilson.
Old and failed everywhere he's been. Russell Wilson,
he's washed.
Been really bad his last 3 stops.
You know who is minorly intriguing? If we can just chalk up last year to the Raiders. Geno Smith after he's released.
There's been conversations about it, but I did read something. I wish I could find it about Geno, and I think he's got the most turnovers in the NFL the last 2 years. And so, what was that?
I was saying fun.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see where he fits and all of that. But yeah, I don't get it.
the names on here are just like, so the guys that are going to be, we got 4 guys more that are going to be released that are going to be like Kyler's situation. You got Geno Smith, you got Tua Tagovailoa, you've got Kirk Cousins, you got Justin Fields. Kirk Cousins, I mean,
I know, right?
sure.
That's
But I like the potential of Geno. Tua is interesting, but it would feel too much like a Kyler situation, right?
well, and the issue with Tua is a little different than Kyler in the sense that like there's a legitimate chance that you're going to see him like injured for life if he's
and his career.
Yeah, and I just don't want to be a part of that. If I'm being completely honest, like the talent is fine. I think he has a lot of limitations, but like I don't want to see that happen.
Let's talk running backs. The
Man,
name that I think
what a good class, by the way.
Yes, but the name that I think we all felt was almost inevitable now is off the table as the Jets put the franchise tag on Breece Hall. He would have been the perfect guy to bring in. LaFleur coached him with the Jets. But yeah, there's some running backs, and the Cardinals need to remake that room. How splashy do you think that they go? Would they go in on Ken Walker? Because that would be fun.
The one that is, I think, I don't want to say more likely because I don't think any of them are exactly likely because of how much they've actually invested at the running back position. But the one that I would actually think is more intriguing, even though Kenneth Walker is good, would actually be Travis Etienne.
Oh yes, absolutely. Because he can do it all, man.
Yeah, and so Etienne would be a lot of fun. From there, the one that could really be intriguing to me is Tyler Algier from the Falcons. He's he's obviously had a lot of success, but he's also been blocked by the best running back in football right now. So like it makes it really difficult.
And if we're talking draft, we can talk about this, but if we wanted to go crazy, if like, and I was talking to my son about this, I kind of like the idea. If you're going to bring in a Malik Willis, then you got to go in all in on offense, sign a guy like Tyler Algier, draft Jeremiah Love, and go with it. Like go with Jeremiah Love in round 1, a tackle in round 2. And then because you've got Marv and Trey and Michael Wilson and Love and Algier, guess what? And you've kind of fixed your offensive line. Then you're given the offense a chance to succeed, and it'll make Mike LaFleur look really good. And so you lean into the offense. You lean into the offense so that they're hopefully good. But yeah, okay, I just got myself a little bit excited. But yeah, Tyler Algier would be great for that. But otherwise, yeah, you could make a splash. What about a Rico Dowdell?
I was thinking about Rico, but like what's interesting about Rico is like, would you like 318? Like 320 maybe? Would you do that?
I mean, genuinely they James Conner 321.
Yeah, so I mean he could be an intriguing guy, but like he's running, he's age 28 already, so it's like you're doing the James Conner thing all over again, kind of, right? Just from an age perspective. So that's just one thing to think about. But dude, I mean, I think this is one of the. I mean, we didn't even talk about it. Former ASU Rachaad White.
Yes,
he could be an intriguing, backup to Trey Benson. If you're not looking for, if you think Benson can be the guy, like Rachaad White's been a hell of a pro for the last 4 seasons in Tampa Bay, and he gets the job done. He's dynamic out of the backfield. Like, again, he's not going to be a 1,400 yard guy, but he's a guy that can grind out 1,000 total yards for you at 2.5, 3 million. Like, why not?
I like it. I like it. Coming up next on the Rise of Sierra podcast, Special Cardinals talk on the web. Let's move on to the pass catchers. We'll talk receivers. We'll talk tight ends, if at all. That's coming next on Rise of Sierra. We're back on the Rise of Seared podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. It sounds like Michael Wilson's going to get a contract extension, like based on what Monty Austinfort said in the at the combine. He used almost identical language that he did with Trey McBride. Now, if they keep Marv, I hope that's the case, and they extend Wilson. Would I extend Michael Wilson? I would not. They still need some receiver help because the rest of the receivers on that team are no names and unprovens and whatnot. If you got your Harrison, and if you pay Wilson decent good money, what do you do at that third spot? What could you see a Christian Kirk return to be there? I think that would be a really nice fit because he wouldn't cost a ton based on what he's done the last couple of years.
Yeah, and so he's an interesting one. Another one that kind of fits into that realm was like Jalen Tolbert, who has been, had some nice success as the like third guy in Dallas. Romeo Dobbs is a young, intriguing guy out of Green Bay, so familiarity with the LaFleurs. Yeah, and the one I love, but I just think it's going to be way out of the price range, and I think you just can't invest this much in the position. But the one I absolutely love is Rashid Shaheed. Just an absolute dynamic player with the ball in his hands, does a lot of different things really well. But I'm seeing numbers like in the 15 million range. And I know the cap is up a lot, blah, blah, blah. Like I just like that's as much as I love him at 10 million, I'm not even thinking about him at 15. So it would just have to be the right price.
Yeah. Any other receive? Like, what about bringing back Greg Dortch? I think that ship has sailed unless LaFleur really likes him, because he does give them, but he's just he doesn't give you much. Like, no. But he does take care of the return.
But
he could lock down the return game.
But what about a different guy in the same vein, Tutu Atwell?
Yeah, that's true. And I know Tutu had a super up and down career with the Rams. When he had opportunities, he was productive, but when he was anything other than a top two guy, like because of injuries, he was almost non-existent. But yeah, he could do that, and he would bring some knowledge of the offense, because we're going to see them. We're going to see the Cardinals, of course, bringing in guys that have been connected to LaFleur, and so that's an interesting way to go. Tutu could work. He won't cost that much. But like we've ever since he came to the league, when he's getting drafted, you're like, what, dude's like 150 pounds.
And that's it. Like, that's one of the biggest question marks about the guy every season, is will he be on the field consistently every season? So, those are the realities of the situation. But again, a really dynamic group. Obviously, they're not going to be in on Wan'Dale Robinson. They're not going to be in on Alec Pierce, but like, those are guys that obviously would help the program if they, for some reason, moved on from Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah. And we won't discuss that quite.
By the way,
yet.
We're not going to discuss that, but and I get it. You can't. I talk about it all the time. You can't like hang on too long. But man, would that not be just such an announcement of failure if you move on from Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Oh my gosh, that would be so bad.
That's a big time. Like, what just happened? So
yeah, got tight end. It's interesting because you got Trey McBride. You've still got Elijah Higgins. Well, and Elijah Higgins is important enough to be part of the groundbreaking ceremony. Tip Ryman should be back for the season. And so, assuming Ryman is healthy, we're talking the guys that they would add to the roster would be like way back of the end. Maybe they would go out and grab a Nick Vannett.
Yeah.
played with the Rams. Because Higbee's too high profile, and he's still good.
But he's also 30. He's also 34.
That's true.
So like he could be a guy intriguing that they're like, oh yeah, you can come in and help out with the system and everything at your age. And maybe he looks at it and, he's made money, he's done everything, and now he just gets to be in a system that he knows with the guy. And obviously this is just speculation, not saying I have any insight, but like, with a guy that he likes playing for in a system that he's familiar with, in a town that doesn't care, like those type of things. But yeah, Vanette's another one, 33-year-old, you're going to be paying him the vet minimum, right? And just moving on. The other one would be like a Harrison Bryant. Like he's a young guy, but like, again, he's not going to cost too much. Maybe he comes in and he thinks like, okay, if God forbid anything happens to Trey McBride, maybe that's a spot where I can have some success type thing. So yeah, I mean, this is again, name wise, man, look at the top. And obviously Cardinals aren't going to be interested, but Travis Kelce, David Njoku, Isaiah Likely, Chiga Kwanu came on big time last year, K. Dotton, Dallas Goedert, even though he's going to be 32 this year, like, dude, the free agent class is wild for how much the salary cap has gone up. But I think that also tells you something about the players, right? Like that those players are hitting the market kind of just says a little bit about them.
Yeah. Coming up next on the Rise of Seer podcast, Mr. Cardinals Talk on the Web. Let's talk about the offensive lineman that could be re-signed, brought back, brought in. That's coming up next on Rise of Seer. We're back on the Rise of Seer podcast, Mr. Cardinals Talk on the Web. We move on to the offensive line now. We know the Cardinals have some offensive linemen who are going to be free agents, most notably Jonah Williams. Adios. I don't think there's a chance in the world they're bringing him back. Kelvin Beachum. I don't know. Like I think that ship has sailed because with the younger guys they have behind that, but who knows? I don't think he's ready to hang things up. I think he's going to play until he can't play anymore. And then there's Will Hernandez, who also the offense was suddenly good when he played, but also he looked bad and then couldn't stay healthy either. So of those three, how many get brought back? Do you think any of them get brought back?
If they do it, not Jonah Williams. If they bring back Kelvin or Will, it'll be late, right? Like May probably after things like settle down. This is a really intriguing class, Jess, because again, you've got A plus starters. You've got guys that are intriguing but have struggled either with injuries or inconsistencies or not lived up to
number one guy's got to be, like, if we have to look, it's Elijah Vera Tucker, right? Because he's coming off the injury,
right? And he's one of those guys, right? That's he struggled
talent-wise, high upside. But LaFleur knows him.
But
the Cardinals badly need a guard. So,
but would he be willing to take a 1-year deal? Because that's always the question with a guy like Elijah Vera Tucker, right? Like dynamic player when healthy. But his market value is probably like a 2-year, $20 to $25 million range. So obviously from the Cardinals perspective, you go, absolutely, we'll do 12 and a half. Or would he be like kind of insistent on like, no, I'm going to do 1 year, 15 million, say, because I want to prove myself so then I can get my 4-year, $80 million contract next year.
Yeah.
And so that's what the question becomes for a guy like Elijah Vera Tucker.
Which honestly, do it either way.
David,
if that means you get a good guard for at least 1 year.
Yeah. David Edwards is another one, the Buffalo guard. He's been phenomenal for them. He's projected to be like a 4-year, $80 million guy.
What do you think they do at right tackle? I mean, there's some, like, he's not great, but I mean, the Chiefs are releasing Jawan Taylor.
Yeah, Braden Smith is probably the top free agent guy. Um, he's going to cost you probably roughly what Jonah Williams cost you, right? 15 million a year.
Jonah, that cost would have been fine if Jonah could have played at least one full season.
Right.
Would have
If he
been
would have
great.
been on the field, like that's the biggest thing with him. Would you go after like a Jermaine Illuminor, the Giants right tackle that is projected to be around the 10-12 million dollar range, but is up there in age at 32?
I wouldn't like honestly, given the choice between well, based on what we saw, right? We had Jonah Williams and we had Kelvin Beachum, and then we had, undrafted rookie guys. So I someone who can play roughly the level that Jonah played when he was healthy. And if he can stay healthy, sign me up. DJ Humphries, DJ he looked so bad last year when he played.
And you do feel bad for him, right? Like just a guy that's just struggled to finish. Like it's just always odd when a guy has it isn't.
Oh, here's an interesting one. Joe Noteboom. Because he spent all that time with the Rams before him.
Yeah, and Noteboom's another guy that's just not gonna cost you a lot, right? Like you'll be able to get him probably, in the $2.5 million range. I don't think that's a bad fit. He's a short-term fix, but something we talk about all the time when, especially, when a new coach comes in, you can't fix everything the first year. So you do have to piecemeal things together. It's something
they only played 4 games in 2024 and when LaFleur is, but like he can play a lot of positions. You can just put him in the right tackle. I mean, he'd be reliable, right?
Well, and it's just one of those things, right? Like we'll get to this, and I know we will, but like, are either of the guys that are good prospects really worth a third pick as a tackle? Like, so if you can go get a Joe Noteboom.
Well, because he could also play. Can Noteboom can play inside, right? Or am I thinking way too far back to a previous Rams tackle that played inside too?
No, yeah, he can play inside too. So like that's the thing is like he's a guy that's just so versatile. And like you said, even at 31, it's not a big deal.
Oh.
Because because you're looking at him and saying like here's 2 years, let's say 2 years, 5 million, right? Here's 2 years, $5 million, and you're like, yeah, completely comfortable with the whole thing. So that's one of the guys to look for, because again, you can't win them all. Like you genuinely cannot. You're not gonna. The best name is Rasheed Walker, right? The tackle from the Packers. You can't get Rasheed Walker to be your right tackle, David Edwards to be your right guard, and Tyler Linderbaum to be your center. Like that's sure on paper that would be fantastic, but no, you don't have 60 million to bring around.
No question. Evan Brown, Yelda Froholt. Either one of these guys getting cut?
I think Evan Brown will. Now, obviously, we have to take into consideration that, like, obviously, this was a very, emotional and touchy situation. So, you just have to take that very cautiously, but at the same time, it just feels like it's going to happen, right? Like I feel bad, but it feels like it's going to happen.
I think it would. I don't know, but like I don't see. Like it might be just better to, really work on right guard, right tackle this year, rather than trying to remake 4 positions. And so that you've got the young guys, so John Gaines and Isaiah Adams, depending on what LaFleur thinks of those guys. But having Justin Fry back, I think that's a positive for the guys that are currently on the roster. And you keep Evan, you keep Yelda, you look at the right side and try to upgrade both positions in free agency and maybe the draft. You get, say, Elijah Vera Tucker. You sign him, then you add Joe Noteboom, and then you draft a tackle in round 1 or round 2, where you could go Fano or Mawagoa. You could go with Freeling or the kid out of Arizona State in round 2. There's a lot of different directions you could go with that. But yeah, I think that's kind of the better. I think that might be the wiser approach than completely uprooting the entire offensive line. Although, and I was looking because the only Rams offensive line free agents are Humphries and Quessenberry. So that's less than ideal, because you always like to see, some guys brought in but if they get Vera Tucker, I think that would be a win, assuming he stays healthy. But the Cardinals, we'll see what happens with their training staff, because strength and conditioning, the Cardinals has had the worst luck when it comes to health. Any other linemen of note that we could see the Cardinals taking a shot at? Because I know that Monty doesn't like to go old. So if they're going to get experience, it's going to be like ages 28 to 30 max, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, you would think so. But I think, if they're looking at like 1 year, especially, if they do bring in a Malik Willis, right, that it could be a guy that they, for a season or two, they're like, all right, so like a 31, 32-year-old, which would be different than what we've seen, right? But I do think that is something that could happen. I don't think it will.
And with that can wrap up this edition of the Res of Sierra podcast, Best of Cardinals Talk. We've talked about offensive free agents. We'll be back later in the week to talk about the defensive side of the ball and maybe some special teams. But until then, that's Seth Cox. I'm Jess Root. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll be back again soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up, See Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms, so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up, Red Sea, be Red, See Red, and of course, Rise Up, See Red.
Rise up! Rise